Welcome. I'm Adrian Atkinson, and I'm so glad you could set aside the time to tune into this Tuesday edition of Jamaica Magazine. Now let's get down to business. Colon cancer is a type of cancer that begins in the colon or rectum. It often starts as small, non-cancerous clumps of cells called polyps, which can develop into cancer over time. Early detection through screen tests like colonoscopies can significantly improve treatment outcomes. March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month, and although the month is coming to an end, it is never too late for you to take charge of your health and get a head start with practicing preventative measures. Please stay with us. We have more after these messages.
Have you heard? Starting April 1, 2024, the JFTC Fairs will drop by 50%. And here's your key. To enjoy these savings, you'll need the JFTC Smarter Card. The JFTC Fairs come April 1, 2024 will be as follows. Regular fare, $50, children's fare, $20, and the fare for pensioners, $25. But wait, there's more. New and existing cardholders will benefit from an additional 3 free rides. Ready to hop on board? Swing by the Halfway Tree Transport Center, JFTC's downtown hub, or the Greater Portmore office to obtain or replace your Smarter Card. Just bring your ID, birth certificate, and the cash to load onto your Smarter Card. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Sign up today and secure your Smarter Card.
Good day, I'm Lisa Rowe and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, March 26, 2024. Proposed fines of up to $10 million are being considered to deter pollution and protect water resources and habitats. In the new financial year, amendments will be brought to Parliament to raise the fines for pollution under the Natural Resources Conservation Authority (NRCA) Act and the Wildlife Protection Act. The new cap will be a maximum of $5 million under both pieces of legislation for breaches by individuals and $10 million for bodies corporate. During his budget presentation last week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the current fines were not sufficient to deter polluters who were in some cases rogue developers.
That's a substantial impact. Madam Speaker, the relationship between sound environmental management and the health and resilience of our water supply is obvious. So today, I'm happy to table Jamaica's new watershed policy.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has charged the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, to develop a policy that would ban the discharge of any waste or effluent into the Rio Cobre. Mr. Holness says this is a very important step towards protecting the water source, along with the development of the Rio Cobre water treatment plant now being built. He reveals that consultation has started with businesses in the area.
It's not something that you could do overnight because along the banks of the Rio Cobre are many establishments which have been there for years and which have predated many of our legislation. So the process of consultation has started. It is imperative that this be done. We have put in place a new water treatment facility, and therefore we must protect that body of water.
Still on the environment, the government will continue to enforce several measures to contain pollution from plastics and introduce a further ban in June. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says pollution from solid waste is complex as much of it is generated from economic activities, but he asserts that through commitment, strides are being made in this area. These include working to complete the national policy on the management of single-use plastics and beginning the separation of plastics at all government facilities this financial year.
Jamaica will also enter phase 4 of the ban on some plastic materials on June 1 of this year. This phase will include a ban on the manufacture, import, and distribution of single-use plastic lunchboxes and on personal care products using microplastics.
Mr. Holness says significant progress is being made in the collection of plastic bottles for recycling, which has moved from 60 million 5 years ago to 278 million bottles being collected in 2023.
We will continue to work with the National Solid Waste Management Authority and recycling partners of Jamaica to ramp up collection for recycling.
The Prime Minister adds that Jamaica is happy with the International Negotiating Committee's progress towards developing a global plastic treaty. In other news, government will be establishing a trust fund for path beneficiaries and wards of the state born on or after Jamaica's 60th anniversary, August 6, 2022. The Jamaica 60 Hope Children Trust Fund was announced by Prime Minister Andrew Holness during his recent budget presentation. He says the idea behind the program is to give children a financial head start to approach adulthood.
The Hope for Children Trust Fund will provide each eligible child with a long-term savings account funded through annual contributions from the government. Parents, guardians, and other donors will also be able to make deposits into the account for the future benefit of any specific child. The accumulated funds, including interest, will be accessible on or after the child's 18th birthday.
The trust fund will be administered by the National Insurance Fund or private insurance companies. The Registrar General's Department, RGD, will be rolling out the first batch of Braille certificates on April 2 to ensure equal access to essential documents by the visually impaired community. The update came from Chief Executive Officer Charlton McFarlane at a JIS think tank recently.
This will enable our members from the visually impaired community to be able to access and actually read and interpret and know directly the information that is contained on their vital certificates.
Mr. McFarlane, who points out that this is the first time the RGD's certificates will be produced in another language, says it is something the visually impaired community is looking forward to.
It affords them the type of independence, to be able to read and understand their document, to be able to fact check the information that is contained for them by the Registrar General's Department.
And finally, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is reporting that approximately 100,000 tests have been conducted on persons across the island through its Know Your Numbers campaign. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says that this is encouraging as the ministry strives to do 500,000 screenings in approximately 2 years. He was speaking at the 7th Know Your Numbers campaign event recently. Dr. Tufton says the screenings for the non-communicable diseases, NCDs, provide data for analysis to determine the health status of the population. It also provides for follow-up interventions for persons.
I am very pleased. I think the effort is justified by the people participating and the conditions we're discovering and the follow-up that is taking place. And it also impacts positively the crowding out of our hospitals and accident and emergency. Because if we intervene early, we avoid people getting into a crisis situation. There are people out there who don't know the condition they have. And that's why we keep reminding people, do your annual physical.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lisa Rowe. Thanks for watching.
A statement of assets, liabilities and income that is required by a specific group of public officials in accordance with the Integrity Commissions Act 2017. What do we speak of? Let's get the necessary information about completing our statutory declaration to stay informed.
Parliamentarians, public officials, let's all play our part in promoting transparency and integrity. File your statutory declaration on or before March 31st, 2024. Between January 1, 2023 and December 31, 2023, were you a parliamentarian? or a public official acting or appointed to a position listed in the Jamaica Gazette dated December 5, 2023? Or were you a public official in receipt of total emoluments of $12 million or above? If yes, then you are required to declare all balances and interest in all assets, liabilities, and income received by you, your spouse, and children below the age of 18, whether living in Jamaica or abroad. Filing your statutory declaration is a legal obligation, and failure to do so may attract a fine not exceeding $500,000 or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 6 months. Making a false statement on a statutory declaration may attract a fine not exceeding $2 million or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years. Check before you submit. The Integrity Commission has a zero-tolerance policy. If you are eligible to file statutory declarations for December 31, 2023, or is outstanding for any period ending December 31, 2018 to December 31, 2022, file your statutory declaration now to avoid prosecution. Download the new statutory declaration form from the Integrity Commission website and enter the as-at date December 31, 2023. Be reminded that not applicable or see attached is not an appropriate response. Use none instead. List all required balances and copy or print additional pages where necessary. Enter all required information and ensure all sections are signed. Attach the relevant supporting documents as indicated on the statutory declaration form. ATM printouts are not accepted. Never amend the form. Once you're through, proceed to your in-house collection point where you will place your form in a statutory declaration envelope and apply the security seal. Deposit the secure envelope in the Integrity Commission branded collection container or with the assigned officer in your organization before March 31, 2024. Enter your name and date of submission on the Integrity Commission log sheet. The assigned officer will facilitate the submission of all statutory declarations to the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission will register your statutory declaration and send you a receipt by email on or before May 31, 2024. After submission, your declaration is examined for completion and accuracy, so file it as such. Ensure all supporting documents are attached, displaying balances as at the statutory declaration date, December 31, 2023. Insert the correct balances on the statutory declaration form. Insert your income. List all houses, land, car, bus, car loans, mortgage, credit card, business venture, and income. Don't leave anything out. Get it right the first time. Where the Commission is satisfied with your filing, the declarant will receive an advisory. Don't delay. Submit your statutory declaration completely and accurately and get on the path to certification.
Public passenger vehicle operators and commercial carriers, renew your road license online. It's as easy as 1-2 click. Visit the Transport Authority website at www.ta.org.jm. Choose your license type and click Apply Now. Sign in or create an account with your email address and complete the application process, uploading all relevant documents. Make payment using a debit or credit card. Once your application is approved, the Transport Authority will email you to collect your sticker. Pick up your sticker in office or utilize our courier service. Once the sticker is collected, your digital road license will be emailed to you. For more information, call the Transport Authority toll-free at 888-991-5687.
The Finance Minister closes the budget debate in Parliament today, but we continue to explore high points from his presentation opening the debate. In that presentation, Minister Nigel Clark gave an update on some critical aspects of the public sector transformation program.
We embarked on the construct of the Public Sector Transformation Program in 2017, and it's with a deep sense of pride that I stand here today to report that the Public Sector Transformation Program, meaning that loan, funded by the IDB, is the first IDB program to achieve all measures agreed with the IDB within the agreed timelines and loan amount. Audit and final evaluation of the program will be conducted between April and June of this year. On the ICT transformation, a big part of that progress is that we now have a dedicated broadband infrastructure. As we speak, the TIU informs that over 200 entities in the Kingston area have been connected to the system, and over 500 entities, including police stations, schools, and courts, also have connectivity. This program also funded the data center at eGov to expand storage by 260%. The transformation program implemented My HR Plus, an integrated HR and payroll management system. The vision is to serve all ministries, departments, and agencies. Now we have 70 MDAs that are using it, and it puts the government in a better path to manage its most critical resource, which are our people. On the restructuring of compensation, this was a process to be implemented across 3 years. In the first year, we set out to change the compensation system, develop and implement a new job evaluation tool, have a single compensation spine, and then in the second year, to introduce modern policies governing areas of conditions of service. In the third year, performance management. So the first year was 22-23, and we accomplished that. We had the new classification system that has not been easy, but we've implemented a new single 16-band system for the public sector, reducing the multiplicity of scales from 325 to 16 bands across the entire public service. Compensation allocated to public employees moved from $222 billion before this, i.e. in 21-22, and is at $414 billion in 24-25. So across 3 years, almost $200 billion, from 9.6% of GDP to 12.6%. I'm painfully aware that some of the challenges that have been unearthed because of the new implementation of the compensation system are real. And in some cases, these have to do with inherent issues of classification in the public sector. For example, there are genuine anomalies that were created that affected some classification groups. And we have a panel of classification experts currently reviewing those anomalies. And their work will be completed by the end of this month, and corrective actions to be implemented before the end of the first quarter in the fiscal year. Another pain point is that the appointment of officers acting in a higher post, unintended consequence, where on appointment, that officer receives less pay because they're appointed on the first point of a salary band. The Office of the Services Commission, who is responsible for appointments, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, are currently working to address the matter. And I expect that by the end of April, this too will be corrected for the affected persons. There are some public bodies that we're still working through issues. Remember, there are 140, but we have a few that we're still working with issues. Now, for the second year, which is the 23-24 year, which is completing, what the work plan was to put in policies that focus on streamlining benefits. My recollection is 8 out of 9, it could be 7 out of 9, or 8 of somewhere in that region that we have agreed on. And the next stage is to meet again and see if we can get over that hump.
To make water safe to drink from the river, filtration and purification methods must be done to remove contaminants. Boiling or using water purification tablets are effective strategies to ensure it's safe for consumption. But let's see the process for a much larger scale.
The human body cannot function without water. While you may live for up to 3 weeks without food, you cannot go more than a week without water. From breaking down the food we eat so the body can use it, to helping us heal when we get sick, water is needed for almost every process that takes place in the body. And although 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water, drinking it directly from seas, rivers, wells, or aqueducts may make you sick. Untreated water contains bacteria and other germs, as well as chemicals that may be dangerous to the body. So in order to get the water from here to here safely, it has to be treated. Water treatment processes differ depending on the source. If the water is coming from a river, for example, here at the Negro River in St. Thomas, It usually goes through an extensive treatment process before reaching the pipe.
Here is where we do the first type of treatment in the form of sedimentation and screening. Behind me you can see where we screen the bigger stuff like the sticks, the stones and debris. Then we come down to the sediment where we separate the sand from the stones. And then this water will leave from St. Thomas and pipe into Kingston via pipeline into the Mona Reservoir.
The Mona Reservoir is the island's largest raw water storage facility and provides the liquid to over 30% of people living in Kingston and St. Andrew. If this is where you get your water, here is where the next step in the treatment process occurs.
Here in the reservoir, we allow for maximum levels of mixing, maximum levels of aeration, as can be done here at the facility. We also, at the reservoir, you allow for settling out of the silt and the suspended particles, dirt particles, that would otherwise be in the raw water. We then take the water from the reservoir and take it to the Mona treatment plant.
At the treatment plant, chemicals are added to further purify the water. Chlorine is first added to kill bacteria.
You have stages that include flocculation, where we actually add chemicals to the water that allow those microscopic dirt particles that are still in the water to be brought together in what we call flocks, and then we are able to skim it off and remove it from the water.
The water is then passed through filters which contain layers of sand, gravel, charcoal or synthetic materials that remove remaining small particles. The final stage is disinfection. Here, chlorine is added to kill any other bacteria or germ.
Ensuring that we have what we refer to as chlorine residual that goes with the water, so that as the water travels along the pipeline to our customers, should it come in contact with any germs along the way, there is enough chlorine residual in that water to destroy those germs and still be delivered to the customer in good quality.
The water is tested all throughout the treatment process to ensure that what you get in your pipe meets World Health Organization standards.
For several years running, the National Water Commission has won the best tasting water in the Caribbean. We have also been acknowledged by the various arms of the United Nations at different points in time as having one of the best quality water in the hemisphere.
That is definitely something we can drink to.
Protecting life in the wild ensures the preservation of biodiversity and the balance of ecosystems. It safeguards the survival of countless species and helps maintain the health of our planet. Let's learn more about protecting life in the wild.
There are increasing threats to Jamaica's biological resources, like our plants or animals, due to events like habitat degradation or pollution. And globally, cycles like animal poaching to fuel a thriving fashion industry continues to hover over the idea of sustainable life in the wild. While Jamaica and the rest of the world's ecological challenges of today need innovative solutions, understanding our wildlife, what to protect, the need to protect it, and those mobilized to protect it is one of the biggest starts.
The overall goal for wildlife conservation is really to try and preserve a particular species in its natural environment. So the species that are protected, how do we determine those? Well, Jamaica, again, as an island, has a lot of unique species. So that's one of the first things we look at. What are the things that are unique to Jamaica? What are the things that are endemic? So we're looking at endemic species, not just animals, but also plants. And we are trying to see how we can ensure that we don't lose those species. There are also species whose numbers are very small. They're not necessarily endemic. Some of them are more widespread, but their species in Jamaica are very small, and they may have a higher threat of exploitation, for example. Persons are going to try and harvest them, and so we try to put some form of control onto the amount of harvest that is done. So in order to do that, we have to bring those species under the Wildlife Protection Act so we can better regulate these activities.
So how do we necessarily choose which animals fall under the country's Wildlife Protection Act?
Now, how do we choose these? Well, we look at what is native, what is endemic, and then we actually do surveys. We look at what the population numbers are like. We also signatory to several international treaties that actually tell us that certain species that we have on our island are actually endangered, critically endangered on a global scale. And so we have to play our part here in Jamaica to ensure that those species are not lost.
And then there is the issue of domesticated animals, those that are dependent on humans, because over time they have become genetically adopted to live alongside us. But more and more persons are stepping into the wild for new breeds to domesticate. But disturbing that pattern can have implications.
Domesticated animals are really animals that are very dependent on man and very used to habitualize to man. And so we talk about cats and dogs, some pigeons, for example, your rock pigeons, your everyday domestic pigeons. Those are domestic animals. Now, some of our wildlife persons would like to keep as pet. They are not domesticated animals. They are actually wild animals. Our parrots, for example, we have two endemic species of parrot, the yellow-billed parrot and the black-billed parrot, and persons would tend to want to keep those as pet. And they are actually protected because their population is low. First off, they're endemic. Their population is very low, and their population is also declining. And so we're trying to protect those species.
From around August to somewhere in September, our bird shooting season is a welcome activity. But even these licensed activities, the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is regulating how we protect our endemic species in the wild.
We have hunting season, that is something that is actually regulated. NEPA also declares what are known as game reserves. And game reserves are areas where we do not want any hunting activity to occur. Because annually we have annual game bird hunting season, and so we have game reserves to protect populations, especially breeding populations of these birds, so that they are not overexploited. So game reserves are areas where no one is allowed to hunt, and we actually created a law in such a way that all forest reserves that are managed by Forestry Department are actually, in effect, game reserves as well. So in that sense, NEPA does have a role in forest reserves in ensuring that no hunting occurs within forest reserves.
So, next time you roam our rugged landscape or pass by the carpet of plants lining the roadways, the thick tangles of bushes, or observe the colony of birds or seemingly baleful mongoose, let's observe without disturbing those patterns of life.
Our program concludes for today, but be sure to join us again tomorrow for another lineup geared towards providing you with information on the government's policies and initiatives for building a better Jamaica. You may visit our website, jis.gov.jm, to re-watch this broadcast or to catch up on lots more. I'm Adrian Atkinson from our production team at the GIS. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.